My name is Nani A. Villarba, 29 years old. My boyfriend said, "From now on, I will decide when we get married. Stop putting pressure on me." I did not say anything. I just went quiet. 3 weeks passed. No messages, no calls, no meetings that meant anything. Then one evening, there was a soft knock on the door. When I opened it, he was standing there, and when he saw someone standing with me, tears immediately filled his eyes and began to fall. I am a systems architect. I design cloud infrastructure for mid-size companies, which sounds more glamorous than it is. Mostly, it is meetings, diagrams, security reviews, and making sure nobody's entire business collapses because one server decides to have an emotional breakdown. It pays well, not millionaire well, but enough to build a stable life if you are careful. And for 3 years, I thought I knew exactly where that life was headed. His name was Brooks. He was 27, worked in marketing for a boutique firm downtown, and had this laugh that made people turn toward him before they even knew why. We met at a friend's barbecue in the summer of 2021. He was wearing sunglasses he clearly thought made him look mysterious, and I was holding a paper plate full of ribs, trying not to drop sauce on my shoes. He made a joke about my strategic food architecture, and somehow, by the end of the night, we were still talking by the cooler while everyone else had moved inside. By fall, we were inseparable. By the following spring, I knew he was it. Not in some dramatic fireworks way, but in the quiet way that makes grocery shopping feel like a date and Sunday laundry feel like a life. We moved in together after a year, splitting rent on a decent 2-bedroom apartment in the suburbs. We talked about the future constantly. Kids, a house with a backyard, maybe a dog, even though Brooks insisted he was more of a plant person, which was funny because he killed every basil plant we bought. I started saving seriously. I cut back on dinners out, stopped going on weekend trips with friends as often, and began looking at engagement rings during lunch breaks. I was not desperate. I was ready. There is a difference, even if Brooks eventually made me feel like both looked the same. Last October, I brought it up at his favorite Italian restaurant, the one with terrible parking and carbonara so good he always closed his eyes after the first bite. I did not have the ring yet. I wanted to choose the right one, not just the expensive one. But I told him I was ready. I told him I wanted to spend my life with him. Brooks smiled, but the smile stopped somewhere before his eyes. "I think we should wait," he said, cutting his pasta into smaller and smaller pieces. "I am not saying no. I am just saying not yet." I respected that. At least, I tried to. Over the next few months, I brought it up gently every few weeks. Not every day, not with pressure campaigns or dramatic sighs. I just asked if he had thought about it, if he had a timeline, if there was something he needed from me or from us before he felt ready. Each time, he gave me fog instead of an answer. Then came that Tuesday night in late March. We were watching Netflix. I cannot even remember the show, just the blue light flickering across the living room and the half-eaten bowl of popcorn between us. During a quiet moment, I asked, "Have you thought any more about what we talked about?" Brooks paused the show. He turned to me with an expression I had never seen on his face before. Cold. Distant. Almost annoyed that I existed close enough to ask. "From now on, I will decide when we get married," he said. "Stop putting pressure on me." The way he said it hurt more than the words. Like I was a stranger bothering him at a bus stop. Like 3 years of love, plans, rent payments, late-night talks, and shared grocery lists had turned into me being inconvenient. I opened my mouth, then closed it. Something inside me stepped back. I nodded, stood up, and went to the bedroom. That was the last real conversation we had. I made a decision that night. If Brooks needed space to figure out what he wanted, fine. But I was done begging for a future I had already helped build. I would not chase. I would not plead. I would simply stop. The next morning, I got up early, went to work, came home, made dinner, and went to bed. I did not ask about his day. I did not start a conversation. I did not sit beside him on the couch, hoping he would notice the distance and reach for me. He noticed immediately. "Are you seriously giving me the silent treatment?" he asked on day 2. "No," I said. "You told me to stop pressuring you. I am respecting that." "This is not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" He did not answer. By the end of the first week, our apartment felt like a museum exhibit about a relationship that used to live there. We moved around each other carefully, politely, never fully looking. He would ask, "How was work?" and I would say, "Fine." He would ask if I wanted Thai food, and I would say, "No thanks." I was not punishing him. I was protecting myself from hearing another almost. Week 2, he started going out more. Drinks with coworkers, late gym sessions, nights at his mother's. I did not ask questions. I also started making plans. Studio apartments in my price range. Lease break fees. Which furniture was mine, which was his, which had to be divided like evidence from a life we failed to finish. My sister Lauren noticed something was wrong when I called her on a Saturday and told her everything. "So what are you going to do?" she asked. "I think I am done." "You think, or you know?" I looked around the apartment, at the framed photo from our first beach trip, at the empty space beside me where Brooks used to sit. "I know." "Then stick to it," she said. "Do not let him come back and sweet-talk you into another 6 months of waiting to be chosen." That evening, Lauren showed up with takeout and a bottle of wine. We ate on the couch, watched a terrible action movie, and for a few hours, I remembered what it felt like to breathe without measuring someone else's mood. Around 9, while Lauren was helping me clean up the containers, there was a soft knock at the door. 3 gentle taps. I looked at Lauren. She looked at me. I opened the door. Brooks stood there, hair damp from rain, eyes red, hands gripping his jacket sleeves. His gaze went past me to Lauren on the couch, then back to me, then to Lauren again. His face broke. "Who is she?" he choked out. I blinked. "That is my sister." "Your what?" "My sister, Lauren. You have met her multiple times." Lauren gave a small wave from the couch. "Hi, Brooks." But he was already crying, full body shaking sobs, like the sight of another person in our apartment had shattered whatever story he had been telling himself. "I thought you moved on," he said. "I thought you found someone else." I stared at him, and for the first time in 3 weeks, I saw the truth forming behind the panic. He had not been afraid of losing me when I was asking for commitment. He had only become afraid when I stopped asking. Lauren stood up slowly, grabbed her jacket from the chair, and looked at me in that careful way siblings do when they know they are leaving you alone with a storm. "I'm going to head out," she said. "Call me tomorrow." She squeezed my shoulder as she passed. Brooks stepped aside, like the hallway had suddenly become too narrow for him. Lauren gave him one last flat look, the kind that said she remembered more than he thought she did. "Good to see you again, Brooks," she said. He nodded, embarrassed, still wiping his face. Once she was gone, the apartment felt too quiet. I stepped back from the doorway. "Do you want to come in?" He nodded. He walked inside slowly, like he was entering a place he no longer had the right to touch. We sat on opposite ends of the couch, the same couch where 3 weeks earlier he had paused Netflix and told me he would decide when our future mattered. "I was at my mom's," he said finally. "I needed to think. I noticed your suitcase was gone." I didn't know how to say it. That you were leaving? That I was scared. I looked at him. Really looked. The man I had planned a life around was sitting there with red eyes and shaking hands, and all I could think was how strange it was that his fear only became visible when my silence became inconvenient. "I thought you stopped caring," he said. "You stopped asking. You stopped calling. You stopped trying. You told me to stop pressuring you." "I didn't mean disappear." "I didn't disappear, Brooks. I stopped begging." He flinched. For a moment, I almost softened. Old habits are dangerous that way. 3 years of loving someone teaches your body to reach for them even when your mind knows better. But then I remembered the coldness in his voice, the months of fog, the way he made commitment feel like a favor I had no right to ask for. "What do you want?" I asked. "I want us to work." "That is not an answer." "It is." "No," I said. "It is a slogan." "What do you want? Marriage? Kids? A house? A life together? Or do you want to keep me nearby until something better appears?" "That is not fair." "Then make it untrue." He looked down at his hands. And there it was. The silence that had been living between us long before I stopped talking. "There is something I need to tell you," he said. My stomach dropped. "Okay." Last year, when I said I was not ready to get engaged, it was not really about timing. "Then what was it about?" He took a shaky breath. "Money." The word landed ugly and heavy. "Money," I repeated. "Your salary is good," he said quickly. "Really good. I know that. But it is not enough." "Enough for what?" "For the life I want." I leaned back, suddenly exhausted in a way sleep could not fix. He kept talking, like now that the truth had cracked open, he could not stop it from spilling out. His sister had bought a house in Riverside. 4 bedrooms, huge yard, pool. Her husband was a cardiologist. They took vacations. She worked because she wanted to, not because she had to. Their parents bragged about them constantly. Brooks had been comparing our life to theirs for months, maybe longer. "So I am not rich enough," I said. "That is not what I mean." "It is exactly what you mean." "I love you," he said, desperate now. "But love is not always enough." I nodded slowly, clearly. "Do not make me sound shallow. You are telling me you kept 1 foot out the door because you were waiting to see if a wealthier future showed up? What should I call that?" He stood abruptly, wiping his face again. "I should go." "Yes," I said, "you should." He walked to the door, then stopped. "For what it is worth, I really did love you." "Past tense," I said. He looked wounded, as if I had been the one holding back the truth for months. "I still do," he whispered. "I just do not know if it is enough." That is why we are done. This time, he did not argue. He nodded once and left. I sat there in the quiet for a long time after the door closed. I did not cry. The future I had built in my head had finally collapsed. But the silence it left behind did not feel empty anymore. It felt honest. Around midnight, I texted Lauren. "You were right. I am going to be fine." She replied immediately. "Damn right you are." The next morning, I called a moving company. 2 weeks later, I moved into a 1-bedroom apartment 20 minutes from work. Smaller than the old place, but mine. No shared memories in the corners. No waiting for someone else to decide whether I was worth choosing. Brooks texted on moving day. "I made a mistake. I see that now. Can we please try again?" I stared at it for a long time. Then I blocked him. The first month alone was strange. quiet. But slowly, I started liking the quiet. I cooked what I wanted, went to the gym whenever I felt like it, said yes to concerts, weekend trips, and even a pottery class I had always been curious about. 2 months later, I ran into Brooks at a grocery store near our old apartment. He was with a tall woman wearing an expensive watch. I saw the Tesla outside when they left. He looked happy, or maybe he was performing happiness the way he had performed uncertainty with me. He saw me too. His smile faltered for 1 second. Then he turned away. I felt nothing. 6 months after the breakup, I got promoted. Lead architect, 20% raise, more travel, Boston, Seattle, Austin. I built a life that felt like mine instead of a down payment on someone else's approval. A year later, I heard Brooks got engaged to the woman from the grocery store. Finance executive, riverside house, pool. The whole package he thought would make him complete. I still felt nothing. These days, I am 30, doing better than fine, dating slowly and no longer auditioning for a future with someone who keeps measuring me against somebody else's life. I met someone recently, Marco, a graphic designer with his own business and no interest in competing with anyone's sister's husband. We are taking it slow. No pressure, no timelines. Sometimes I think about the night Brooks knocked, crying because Lauren was on my couch. How quickly he assumed I had replaced him. How little he trusted me after 3 years. How he only panicked when he thought I had options too. That should have been the red flag from the start. But at least I saw it eventually. At least I walked away when it mattered. I am not waiting anymore for someone else to decide if I am enough. I already know I am.